F1 Academy was created to build the future, a platform for young female drivers, a place where talent could finally be seen, supported, and pushed closer to the top of motorsport. But in Montreal, that dream started to look more complicated, because this was not just another race weekend. It had domination, it had penalties, it had safety cars, it had a driver crossing the line first, only to lose the win moments later. And behind all of that chaos, one uncomfortable question became louder than ever. If F1 Academy is finding real talent, where does that talent actually go next? Welcome back to Gridline F1 News. Today we are breaking down the Montreal weekend, the drama on track, and the bigger problem hiding underneath one of the most important championships in modern motorsport. Because Montreal did not just give us a race, it gave us a warning. Chapter 1. The weekend that was never meant to be this big. Before the chaos even started, Montreal was already carrying extra pressure. Montreal became more than just round 2 of the 2026 F1 Academy season. It became a pressure test. After Formula One confirmed that the Bahrain and Saudi Arabian Grands Prix would not take place in April because of the ongoing situation in the Middle East, the F2, F3, and F1 Academy rounds scheduled around those events were also affected. To keep the season structure strong, F1 Academy introduced a 3-race weekend format for Montreal and Austin. That meant drivers had 3 chances to score, 3 chances to prove themselves, and 3 chances for one mistake to completely change their weekend. The new opening race was not just extra entertainment, it added more pressure to qualifying, because drivers needed not only 1 perfect lap, but 2. F1 Academy confirmed that the opening race grid would be set by each driver's second fastest qualifying time. So before the first race even began, Montreal had already become a different kind of test. Not just speed, not just racecraft, but consistency under pressure. And one driver looked ready for all of it. Chapter 2. Palmowski takes control. While everyone else was searching for rhythm, Alisha Palmowski turned Montreal into her own territory. From the first serious session, Alisha Palmowski looked like the driver everyone else had to chase. In qualifying, she did not just take pole, she controlled the session. F1 Academy's official report says Palmowski led from the start and secured both pole positions for the opening race and feature race. Her best lap was a 1:38.466, almost 4/10ths clear of the nearest rival. That matters because Montreal is not an easy circuit. Circuit Gilles Villeneuve punishes hesitation. The walls are close, the chicanes are narrow, and if a driver loses rhythm, the lap disappears instantly. But Palmowski looked calm. She kept improving. She kept lowering the benchmark. And by the end of qualifying, the message was clear. This was not a lucky lap. This was control. For a championship contender, that kind of performance does more than win pole. It changes how the rest of the grid sees you. And in Montreal, Palmowski was no longer just part of the title fight. She was beginning to shape it. Chapter 3. The opening race becomes a statement. Pole position gave Palmowski the advantage, but the race showed something even more important. The opening race was supposed to be a new format experiment. For Palmowski, it became a statement. She launched cleanly from pole, held the lead into turn 1, and never really gave anyone else a chance. Behind her, the race was alive. Megan Bruce was fighting to protect second. Peyton Westcott was trying to stay in the podium fight. Matilda Potts was waiting for opportunity. Further back, Ella Lloyd was recovering from a difficult qualifying position, charging through the field from 16th to 6th. But at the front, Palmowski was in another rhythm. Lap after lap, the gap grew. The official F1 Academy report called it the largest winning margin in F1 Academy history, with Palmowski finishing 10.1 seconds ahead of Megan Bruce. Campos Racing also secured its first 1-2 finish of the season. That is the kind of victory that changes a championship. Not because it gives points only, but because it creates fear. When one driver can control qualifying, control the start, control the pace, and control the gap, the rest of the grid is forced to respond. Palmowski did not just win the opening race, she made Montreal look predictable. But that feeling did not last long, because the reverse grid race was about to turn the entire weekend upside down. Chapter 4. The reverse grid race turns into chaos. The reverse grid race was the emotional center of the weekend. This was the race where everything happened. Rafaela Ferreira made the perfect start. She jumped into the lead and immediately looked like she had the race under control. Even when the safety cars came, she managed the restarts. Even when the pack stayed close, she did not panic. For most of the race, Ferreira looked like the winner, but behind her, the field was falling into chaos. Alba Larsen bounced over the curb and made contact with Emma Felbermeyer at turn 8. Ava Dobson retired after contact involving Autumn Fisher. Rachel Robertson was also out after contact from Ella Lloyd created a chain reaction behind her, bringing out the safety car. Then, later in the race, Alisha Palmowski tried to recover ground, but contact involving Palmowski, Megan Bruce, and Nina Gaidman ended with Gaidman in the barriers at turn 2. This race had everything a motorsport audience understands instantly: risk, compression, young drivers under pressure, cars running close, and decisions made in fractions of a second. But the biggest twist came at the very end. Ferreira crossed the line first. On the road, she had done enough, but the stewards had already been watching. A false start penalty changed everything. 5 seconds were added, and suddenly, the driver who looked like the winner was classified 10th. Matilda Potts, who had put herself in position at exactly the right moment, inherited the victory. It was her first F1 Academy win. It was also Aston Martin's first victory in the series, and for Ferreira, it was heartbreak. That is the brutal side of racing. Sometimes you can lead every lap, you can control the restarts, you can cross the line first, and still lose everything after the flag. Chapter 5. The penalties changed the story again. After the reverse grid race, the stewards continued reviewing incidents, and once again, the result changed. Alba Larsen received a 5-second penalty for the contact with Emma Felbermeyer. Ella Lloyd received a 5-second penalty for the collision involving Rachel Robertson. Autumn Fisher also received a 5-second penalty for contact with Ava Dobson. Those penalties reshaped the final order. Larsen dropped from 3rd to 11th. Lloyd dropped from 7th to 13th. Fisher moved from 13th to 14th. As a result, Kaylee Countryman was promoted to 2nd, and Peyton Westcott completed the podium. This is where the Montreal story becomes bigger than one winner. Because for young drivers, results are not just numbers on a screen. A podium can change perception. A penalty can change momentum. A strong weekend can create sponsorship conversations. And a missed opportunity can follow a driver far beyond the race itself. That is why F1 Academy is so intense. The drivers are not only racing for trophies. They are racing for visibility. They are racing for backing. They are racing for the next step. And in Montreal, every penalty felt heavier because every position could influence how the paddock sees a driver's future. Chapter 6. The bigger question behind the racing. This is the point where the story moves beyond Montreal, because F1 Academy has already proven it can deliver racing. It can produce pressure. It can produce drama. It can produce stars. Palmowski looked like a championship leader. Potts showed perfect timing when opportunity appeared. Ferreira showed race-winning pace, even if the result disappeared. Lloyd showed recovery speed. Countryman and Westcott walked away with podium moments. The talent is there. The attention is growing. The branding is bigger than ever. F1 Academy's own mission is to champion the next generation of female talent and make motorsport more diverse, inclusive, and accessible. But that is also where the difficult question begins. Visibility is not the same as progression. A driver can be seen by millions and still not have a clear next seat. A driver can wear an F1 team livery and still not know where the next career step is coming from. A driver can win races and still face the hardest question in junior motorsport. What comes next? That is the debate F1 Academy now has to answer. Because if the series is only a platform for exposure, it will create moments. But if it becomes a true development pathway, it can create careers. And that difference matters. Chapter 7. Sponsors, Identity, and the culture war around the series. The sponsorship conversation around F1 Academy has always carried extra attention. The Charlotte-Tilbury partnership became one of the clearest examples. For supporters, It showed that motorsport can attract brands outside the traditional racing world. For critics, it became a target. Susie Wolff has addressed criticism around the Charlotte Tilbury deal before, saying the partnership was about choice and empowerment, not reducing the seriousness of the sport. And in 2026, Wolff explained that the Charlotte Tilbury partnership helped create momentum for other major sponsors, including brands like Tommy Hilfiger, American Express, and Puma. So the issue is not whether sponsors belong. The issue is whether the sport can balance branding with sporting credibility. Because the drivers need both. They need investment. They need audience growth. They need commercial power. But they also need the racing to be taken seriously. And that is where F1 Academy is walking a difficult line. It is trying to bring new people into motorsport, while also proving to traditional fans that the competition is real. Montreal helped that case, because no one who watched that weekend could honestly say the racing lacked pressure. The pressure was everywhere. Chapter 8. What Montreal really changed. After Montreal, the championship picture looked different. Palmowski left as the clear leader with 51 points. Emma Felbermeyer sat second on 32. Rafaela Ferreira remained third with 25. That tells us two things. First, Palmowski is now the driver everyone has to chase. Second, the fight behind her is still close enough for everything to change. But the real impact of Montreal was not only the standings. It was the way the weekend exposed the emotional weight of this championship. For Palmowski, Montreal was control. For Potts, it was a breakthrough. For Ferreira, it was pain. For the series, it was proof that the racing product works. Now comes the harder part, turning that racing product into a real ladder. Because if these drivers keep producing weekends like this, the demand for opportunity will only grow louder. The question is no longer whether F1 Academy has talent. Montreal answered that. The question is whether Formula One's biggest organizations are ready to build a future strong enough for that talent. Montreal gave F1 Academy one of its most dramatic weekends yet. A dominant performance from Palmowski, a maiden victory for Potts, a cruel penalty for Ferreira, multiple steward decisions, and a championship fight that suddenly feels sharper. But underneath all of that, the same question remains. Is F1 Academy becoming a true pathway to the top? Or is it still mainly a showcase where the attention is growing faster than the opportunity? That is the question the sport cannot ignore forever, because the talent is already here. The racing is already here. The pressure is already here. Now, the pathway has to follow. So let us know what you think. Did Montreal prove F1 Academy is moving in the right direction? Or did it expose the biggest weakness in the system? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And subscribe to Gridline F1 News, because the next battle inside this paddock may not happen on track. It may happen behind closed doors.